Adriana, do you mind turning off the front lights for us? Thank you. John, do you mind closing the blind? Just the one. Please and thank you. All right. So I think I want to give you a tour of your calculator first, just to kind of get us have everybody being on the same page here before we get started. So if you turn on your calculator, if you press Y equals, I want you to clear everything that's in there. Okay. I want you to clear all the equations, and here's something a little different. I will give you the steps in a bit, but right now, just press the Stat button. Stat is right here. My pencil is hovering over it. Press it, then you should see this screen, and we're gonna go into Edit. Like, we're actually gonna hit Enter there, and you see a bunch of L's, right? L1, L2, L3. It's almost like an Excel spreadsheet. This is what this is. Now, there's a chance that you might be missing. Some of you might be having an L1, an L3, like you skipped. There's no L2. That means somebody deleted it. So I want you to do this with me. Go to the top of, let's say, L1. Go to L1 all the way up with your arrows, right? And I want you to press the delete button. And now L1 is gone, right? Let's delete L2 as well. Let's just delete the first two, because this will happen to you. From time to time, you're gonna want to clear stuff, but you're gonna hit delete and it's gonna be gone, okay? So what you do when this happens is you press Stat again, and you're gonna select that last option, Setup Editor. It's not gonna be the first or last time I'm gonna say this, so it will bring it to your home screen, and then you hit Enter to actually execute the program. And when it says done, we go back to Stat, press Stat again, and select that first option. L1 and L2 should be back with entries and all. Everything is back. Right? It's blank already for you. That's fine. If you did, you might have had nothing in there, so don't panic if that happens. Here's where I want you to clear stuff. So if you have stuff in there, go all the way up to L1. I want you to press Clear, not Delete. Clear, and then hit Enter. And then it will look like this. For some of you, it probably already looks like that, right? For my L2, I'm going to go to the top, hit Clear, Enter, and now this is what everybody should be looking at. Right? How did I get here again? Stat, Enter, right? Or 1. Press 1 if you'd like. And then you get to the Excel spreadsheet of this calculator. That's what this is. Okay? And you're like, why Stat, Mr. Dirksen? Why Stat? That sounds like statistics, right? Doesn't it? Because it is. We're going to use that for statistics later on as well. But it's our Excel spreadsheet. Anyways, let's type stuff in here. Let's go. Let's type in 1, Enter. 5, Enter. 10, Enter. So into your L1, you're going to press in. You're going to enter 1, 5, and 10. Just random numbers, right? Then you go over to L2, right? And we're going to enter 1, hit Enter, 25, hit Enter, and 100, hit Enter. Right? So 1, 5, 10 for L1, 125, 100 for L2. It's not the big deal if you get it wrong. If you type it in wrong, it's not the biggest deal. But now, these are points, guys. We're gonna treat this as XY, so that's 1 point. XY, this is my second point. XY is my third point. So technically I have 3 points right now. So I want you to try to graph these. So hit Graph. How about Zoom 6? Still nothing, Mr. Dirksen. What's going on here? Okay. The reason I'm doing this is because for you to see the points you just entered, we have to go back to y equals, and we're going to have to turn on plot 1. Remember, I always told you to turn that off? We're going to go to it and hit enter so that when you move away from it, it should be highlighted. Now it's turned on. Okay. Let's hit graph again. Oh, there's one. See that one there? What about the other ones? Right? There was, so I had one of the points was 1, 1, right? The other one was 5, 25, so it's way up there. So this is where it gets pretty cool. This is where we have a zoom function that will help you out to see the points. So follow me, zoom. And there's one that says zoom stat. Do you see that? It's the last option here. It's pressing number 9 is probably the fastest way of doing that. So if you hit enter, now you see the points. You notice that? So it automatically finds a window that works for you. You can still change it now, but at least you kind of know where the points are. Doesn't this sort of look like a parabola? It sort of does, right? So we're going to actually come up with an equation that fits a parabola into the points. The minimum number of points needed is 3. Okay? For a linear equation, for a line, you need 2. Any 2 points and you have yourselves a line. For a parabola, you need 3. Okay, minimum. So we are gonna stop this for now. I just wanted to give you a tour. So remember, stat edit gets you to the spreadsheet. If you delete one of those columns, what happens then? What are you gonna do? You're gonna go back to stat and just run the setup editor. That reverses any columns that have been deleted. The other thing you need to make sure if you want to plot any of the points that you entered into your Excel spreadsheet, what needs to be turned on and y equals plot 1. If plot 1 is turned off and you try to graph it, you're not going to see anything. Okay, you're not going to see anything. So plot 1 must be turned on, and then the points that are in L1 and L2 are going to be plotted here. Okay. Some warnings. Sometimes, actually quite frequently, students forget to turn this off. So let's say it's back to a word problem, you have an equation, right? I give you an equation, you type it in here, and you try to graph it, and it's going to give you some kind of error. It's going to be like, I can't graph it, I can't graph it, I can't graph it. Quite often it's because plot 1 is turned on. The only time you want plot 1 on is if you are indeed using the points you entered here. If you're not using these, it should be turned off. If you are going to manually type in an equation into y1 or y2, plot 1 must be, like all of those plots should be turned off. Okay, so keep that in mind. I wanted to talk about that first before we do the fun part, okay, which is actually coming up with an equation. Right, so this was just a speed tour. If you're a little lost still, we're going to do quite a few of these. So I think by the end you'll be in good shape. Okay, so far you were given the equation. Okay, we're on page 18, right? There we go. Which we entered into y1, and then we were able to use second trace, and you fill in the blank, right? Max, min, right? A value, you name it, to extract information about the resulting parabola. In this lesson, you will learn to determine the quadratic equation that will best model. I have to emphasize that. It will best model the scenario. Okay? You are finding the line of best fit. The line of best fit. Right? So a lot of, like in science, right? If you make some experiments or whatever, you're like, hey, this is how we can model how population is going to grow in a certain area based on what we know, right? And then we kind of just forecast what's going to happen in the future, right? So quadreg, that's also an important term here. Quadratic regression, that's what that stands for. But on your calculator, it's just quadreg. Okay? Allows you to determine the quadratic equation and needs at least a minimum of 3 points. Okay? Remember that you can use the symmetry. This is very important. We did touch on this, right? You can fold the parabola in half, and so you can find points when at times it seems like you don't have 3, okay? So the symmetry of the parabola to determine a third point if necessary, okay? To access quad reg, right? To get into that, you want to press stat, then calc, and you select quadratic regression. And it requires the following inputs. I'm going to actually box this in. I don't know. I think after a while you just know how to do this. So you won't need it on your study sheet because you're going to do it so often that you will just know what to press. Okay. But notice what quadratic regression needs: the location of the x values. That is normally going to be L1 for us. Okay. The location of the y values, that's going to be L2 for us. And then it needs a place to store the resulting equation. We are normally going to pick y1 to store it in. Hey, you can also put it into y2 if you like, or y3. If you're doing homework and you don't want to overwrite what's already in y1, you choose where you want to put this. Entries are separated by commas, right? Very important. The commas here are not just random, right? You need those commas in as you're entering in your information, okay? So right now this is going to be overwhelming, I know, but I'm going to guide you through it. Just in case you forget the steps, right? You turn on plot 1. I kind of tell you right away to just do that so you don't forget. Second is to press stat, edit. That's what I just kept on telling you, right? Enter the x values into L1, the y values into L2. I already did that with you, okay? Make sure you clear any previous numbers that are in there, goes without saying. And then third step, this is the longest step here. You're going to press stat, edit, quadratic regression, second 1, comma, second 2, comma, vars, y vars, enter, enter, enter. And you're like, whoa, I just lost you, Mr. Rickson. This is just so you can go back a few, let's say 2-3 months down the road. Like, how did you do that again? This is going to make sense to you then. Right now, you're like, this is just too much, right? So this is what we're after. This is what you want to see on your calculator when you're done typing all of this. That's what you should be seeing on your home screen. So let's practice. Let's do this right off the bat here. I want to do something because grade 12, you need to know this for grade 12. So I'm going to do a slightly, pretend like this statement is not there. Just say determine the equation that best fits the points. Let's pretend we don't know it's quadratic. Okay, so here, let's type this into L1. We're going to type this into L1 and this into L2. I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. The first column is always going to be X. The second column is always going to be Y. I'm never going to trick you that way. Okay, so you can know this is X, this is Y. Same in grade 12 applied. Okay, so let's go ahead and type that in. So we're going to go, oh, wait, first things, let's turn on plot 1. Go to Y equals, go to the top, turn on plot 1. Now we're going to enter this into L1 and L2. So remember, stat, edit. I just press clear, enter, clear. You go all the way to the top. Press clear and then hit enter. And that will clear everything that's in there. Sometimes you'll have quite a few values. And then you got to go -4, not -4, enter. -1, enter. 2, enter. Right? And this is where you're always going to win against me because you're way better at typing than me, right? You're faster. And then always make sure you take an extra moment to just check that I actually typed this in right. Because even if you get the sign wrong, it's going to throw everything out the window. Okay. So you got these points? Let's follow this very tedious step up here, step number 3. Let's follow that. So you're going to go stat, edit. No, sorry. Okay. I did make a slight mistake. It's actually supposed to go calc. Can you change that to calc? Calculate. Okay. So stat, calculate, right? So you go arrow right, and you're going to find quadratic regression, right? That's option number 5. Next year in grade 12, you're going to use cubic regression. You're going to use linear. You're going to use a bunch of other ones. This year, we only use quadratic regressions, okay? So hit enter when you select quad reg. And this is where this part comes in. Watch what I do here. Second, 1. So actually number 1. And you will see that it calls up L1, correct? Comma, you have to have a comma in there. You have to separate your entries with a comma. There's a comma button right above 7, okay? Then you go second 2, right? Second 2 is for the L2, comma. And this is the part where we tell the calculator where you want to store it at, okay? So you press the vars button, which stands for variables. Vars is right here, next to clear. You see that? You press vars. You're going to go to y variables up here. See that? You go arrow to the right, and from here on in, it's actually just enter 3 times. So enter, you pick which y you want. I want y1. Enter. You see this on your screen, right? Now it's enter to execute this thing, to actually perform the regression. Whoa, and it's very, very accurate. It's very, very accurate. It tries to the best of its ability to find this curve that will best fit through those points we just fed the system. So let's write this down. This is what I need you to do. This is, if you show me this, stat, calc, quad reg, because next year is not always going to be quad reg, okay? And then you give me the equation. So 3 decimals is nice, 2 is minimum, right? So I'm going to go minus 0.444 x squared, because notice that the a value is right here. So there's my a, right? And then b is 0.11, right? So 0.111x. And then your c value, which is the y-intercept, is 2.556. So right now you have the equation written down. But remember we told the calculator to store it in y1? You ready for this? Okay. So press y equals. And the whole thing is in there. I want you to do this, okay? I don't want you to copy this one into your y1. I want you to take the whole thing as the regression is being performed. I want the whole thing to be pasted in here. Okay. So let's see if we can actually look at it, right? So hit graph. Oh, you saw a glimpse of it, right? Watch this, because you use plot 1, right? Plot 1 is turned on. You can use zoom 9 to get you started. So zoom 9 is zoom stat, right? Hit enter. And you're going to see it's always going to make sure that the points you fed L1 and L2, right? Those 3 points are being seen. It's going to make sure it sees those 3 points. Watch, right? You should see the boxes here. If you don't, call me when I walk by later on. I will fix that for you. And now you can still adjust your windows as needed, right? Like if you need to see more of the X max or Y max, whatever needs to be done. But this is actually a pretty good window. You see the vertex, you see the X-intercepts, right? And the y-intercept, like everything is on this window, so it's actually pretty good the way it is. Okay, so I will make add a few notes here. If plot 1 is on, right, use zoom stat to adjust the window. Okay, this is a big if, right? Zoom stat does nothing if plot 1 is not turned on, because it's like, what do you want me to zoom into? I don't have any points, right? And so plot 1 being turned on, right, allows zoom stat to zoom into the points that you're referring to. Okay, let's find all the information, because now that we have an equation, it's basically back to what we've been doing so far. So you can find the vertex, you can find the x-intercepts, you can find the y-intercept, you can find any other information I throw at you. Okay, so let's do that. So grab your calculator. Vertex, it's a max, right? So we're going to go second trace max. So go ahead and do that with me. Second trace max. And I am already to the left of that vertex, so I'm going to hit enter and travel over to the right. Hit enter. And I have to say this. B is not 0, correct? B is slightly bigger than 0, so this parabola is just slightly shifted to the right of the y-axis, right? Remember, when B is equal to 0, the y-intercept is going to be the same as your vertex. In this case, it isn't, right? So we go 0.13 if you round it, 2.56. That would be the coordinates of your vertex. So you need to, when you give me the vertex, I will not accept if you kind of hover over there manually with the cursor and kind of like, yeah, I think it's about there. You need to see, right? It tells me that the max is here, okay? So you use the functions of your calculator. C, the x-intercepts. For that, my trick is y2 is equal to 0. Second, trace intersect, right? Which is 5. So let's go ahead and do that. Y2 is equal to 0. Hit graph. You need to hit graph before you go and find the intersections. And I'm going to find the left intersect there, negative 2.280. And let's see if the other one works. I'm not sure if it's going to work. I think it's on, yeah, it's on inside the window, so it'll be fine. Enter, enter, enter. And that one is 2.530. 2.530. The y-intercept, do we need our calculator for this? By the way, the regression is always going to be in general form. Always. Like, that's the only way the calculator can give you the answer. So we're going to figure that out. The y-intercept is 0c. So in this case, I'm just going to go and get that info straight from the equation. What is the y value when x is equal to negative 30? So basically, we're going to use this function, right? We're going to use value, second trace value, and we're going to let x be negative 30. You can tell that we might have to adjust our window, correct? There is a chance that the calculator is not going to like this. Again, if I can redo this, I would just make a touch screen, right? And we just zoom in, but in this case we can't. So second trace 1, I'm going to try it. And I get this, right? So error invalid. I'm going to try go to, see what it does. it doesn't like the negative. So, and you know it's negative. It's supposed to be negative. So what it doesn't like is that it needs to go so far to the left. It's so far out your window that you need to do something about it. So let's change our window. X min. I'm going to change that to -40. Right? Make sure you're past the absolute minimum. Hit graph again. So now this is my -40 here. So what else do I have to adjust, do you think? This thing keeps on opening up, right? So we go to window. Y min, what do you think? I think we should go -1000, -1000. Let's give it a try. See, now you're seeing, right? This is -30 right about there. And you can see the whole stretch in that region. So you're going to go second, trace 1, type in -30, and there it is. -30, and my Y value is -400.778. Hold it, Mr. Dirks. There must be an easier way of doing this. This is way too much work. The window, you lost me at window, right? Allow me to, what you could have done is this. Or, right, this is technically an f of x equation. You could say f of -30, right? With x is equal to -30, I'm just going to use that equation I just found. And just find it algebraically, right? You should still get the exact same answer. Oh, well, not exact. You'll be a little off because you're rounding your coefficients, right? These are rounded here. Y1 has the whole thing pasted in. But if you show me this work, you'd be fine. So let's give it a try. Second, quit to go to your home screen. I would go -0.444, and I put -30 in there. I square that. Watch arrow. I got to go arrow sideways to come down back to the main level. Plus 0.111, -30, plus 2.556. Are you off by a little? You are. But if you show me that step that you're doing this, if you actually on paper show me what you have done to get to this answer, I would honor it. I will not do this very often. I will 99% of the time I'll go here. But if all else fails, if you can't figure out your window, there is an alternative for this particular step. Okay. We good? All right. Let's keep going. So this situation, finding the equation, will have various forms. Okay. Points were given there. What if points are not given? Okay. So a parabola has a vertex of 2.25 and has two x-intercepts, one of which is -5, 0. Can I give you a little heading here? Only 2 points given. Right? That is hint, hint. You need 3, right? Need 3, remember. You need 3 points, only 2 given. Too many exclamation marks there. But you need 3, so there's a problem. So I did this to graphically orient you, okay? So watch this. The vertex is 2, 5, so let's go find it. 2, 5 is right there. And then you have, it has two x-intercepts, one of which is -5, 0. So -5, 0 is right there. Now I want you to, if you have a different color, that'd be great. If not, that's fine. but we know that the vertex represents the, remember the axis of symmetry? Axis of symmetry. I will first find it using this graph, and then I will show you how to do it mathematically, okay? Count with me. How many points to get from here to there, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. 7 units. So it stands to reason that it would therefore take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units, correct? To get to the other, to the cousin on the other side, right? Why are you using cousin the whole time? I don't even like my cousins. That's okay. So we now know this is our third point, correct? This is the third point. So let's put coordinates to it, right? I want you to do, let's actually write down the coordinates in here. And this is 2, 5. This is given. This is now what? 9, 0, right? If we do this using the graph, we know it's 9, 0. Okay. But now I will show you mathematics here. Find third point algebraically. Okay. Do you remember that equation for axis of symmetry? Maybe you have it on your study sheet. You remember that one? X is equal to x1 plus x2 over 2. This works for any two x values that are opposite each other. Okay. So in this case, we have this 2 here is actually the x there. So we're going to go 2 is equal to this -5. I will make that my x1. Right? Plus, I don't know what x2 is. Actually, we do know, right? It's 9, 0. It's 9. But pretend like we don't. Oops. Sorry, guys. Here. Divided by 2. And so what you need to do at this point, once you substitute it in, you multiply, technically you multiply both sides by 2. Like that. And so if you have something like that happening, you can cancel out those. And this 2 times 2 is just 4. Is equal to -5 plus x2. You can add 5 to both sides or bring the 5 over. It does the same thing. x2 is equal to 9, right? Which is our third point. Now we will come up with a quadratic equation. So this is how I want you to do it. You just go x, y in this case, and write it in as a pair. -5, 0, 2, 5, and 9, 0. We make a little table. And we say that this goes into L1 and this goes into L2. That is part of showing your work, by the way. L1 and L2. Before we do the regression, let's just complete our parabola, right? So we kind of knew this leg, right? We kind of knew where that was going, and then we had to imagine the other side. Okay. We had to kind of picture. Oh, like, oh yeah, there's a leg somewhere on the other side, and based on it taking 7 units this way, it must be 7 that way. right? It doesn't matter where on the parabola you're focusing on, the distance to the middle is the same. So let's type this into L1 and L2 and then perform the regression. So stat, edit, clear, clear. And so let's go -5, enter 2, enter 9, enter 0, 5, 0. Plot 1 is still turned on, so I'm going to leave it, right? So let's try to graph this first. Oh, we didn't do a regression. It's not a regression yet. This equation is still from before, right? So I don't want that. So let's first do our regression. We need to replace this. So we're going to write down stat calc 5, and that's going to do it for us. So let's go ahead and perform the regression. Stat calculate. So you go stat and then to the right for calculate, you pick quadratic regression. And then it's second 1, comma, second 2, comma, vars, y variables, and then it's enter 3 times. Watch. Enter, enter, enter. So it's y is equal to -0.102x squared plus 0.408x plus 4.592. That's too small. I'm going to zoom in once. That's not going to like my calculator being there. So now there you go. You should have that on your screen as well. Now, let's come up with the rest here. Determine the x value and the y value is this. How would we do that again if you know the y value? y2 is equal to 5475. And then we're going to go second, trace 5. Yeah, you guessed it. Oh, maybe it's good to graph it, right? To see what does this graph look like. And actually what you can do right off the bat is just go zoom 9, because then it will adjust the window automatically to see the points we've entered and graph it at the same time. Yeah. Okay, so I was reminded, I have a bunch of new calculators and I forgot to do this. Rookie mistake. I got new calculators, so some of yours have different settings, okay? And you were probably wondering, why am I seeing, right, when you're trying to do the regression, it's like a weird setup, right? Sorry, I apologize for that. So everybody with me, even if you're, I would still say go to mode. Please go to mode and go to, I want you to turn off the stat diagnostics and the stat wizard. There's a wizard and there's a diagnostic. Just turn those off. So I pressed mode. So I don't want these two options to be turned on. So stat diagnostics, stat wizard off. And I will do this again with you. Now we should all see the same thing. I apologize for that. Thanks, Sadie, for bringing that up. Okay, let's just all go through the motion again. So anyways, these values still stay the same. Then go stat, calculate, quadratic regression, Everybody's just seeing this now, right? Say to yours, yeah, okay. If you're not, let me know, I can help you out. Then it's second L1, comma, second L2, comma, and now we need to tell it to put it into Y1, okay? Where do you want to store it? So you got to press vars, Y variables, and then it's enter, enter, enter. And now I will check, is plot 1 turned on? So I'm going to go Y equals, it is turned on. And the equation should be in here. And I'm going to go zoom 9. And you should all be able to do this. Yeah. That's a good, you know what? That's a very good time for me to talk about this. Sometimes you're doing things, you're clicking away and you're forgetting your regression. So you will go zoom 9, you will see dots, but it will not be connected, right? That means that you still haven't created the equation that will fit those points. As far as the calculator is concerned, it needs something in here, not on your home screen. It doesn't know what to do with that, right? Okay, so let's find this point now. So I'm going to let y2 equal 5475. And I'm going to hit graph. There's a big chance that I won't see it. Oh, because there's a typo. Sorry, guys. This is supposed to be negative. Can we change that? This is supposed to be negative. So let's try that again. Negative 5475. Yeah. Please change that in your notes, okay? So let's try to graph that. And obviously we're not going to see it because it's way, way, way down in the negatives. So you need to now, you need to come in and change your y min to, what would you say? I would go negative 60, right? I would go a little lower than the bare minimum. Hit graph. And what just happened, right? You went lower, but now you realize you need to adjust both the x min and the x max. Give it a try without me telling you. Would you be able to do that? Let's see how I do this. I went a little overkill, but it's fine. I can see that it's working. So you notice that there are actually two instances where that happens, right? So you need to find them both. So second trace 5, go to the left side, enter, enter, enter. It's negative 22.20, negative 5475. And you jump to the red line or to your second equation, get closer to the other side, and then just keep hitting enter. 26.20, negative 54.75. So there are your two x values, right, that you were required to find. Okay, I want you to try that with this. So we did one where I gave you the points, right? I gave you a table. All you have to do is type it in. Then I gave you partial information, only 2 points. You have to find the third one. This was just an aid. This is probably not going to be there when you get one of these. Now I give you one that has a graph. It's already graphed. Would you be able to come up with the equation just by looking at this graph and applying what we've just learned? Okay. Remember the axis of symmetry. Remember the equation for axis of symmetry. So I want you to find the equation. Okay, that's your first step. Then calculate the x-intercepts. So this would be A, B, and watch for C here. What's the domain and range? Remember that? Domain and range is not a word problem, so technically there should be arrowheads everywhere. Okay. It's not a word problem yet. We're getting there. Okay. So come up with the equation and all the other information, and I'll come back and go over that by and just seeing how you're tackling this. It helps me to clarify things. Okay, so in this particular case, you have 2 points. You need the third one. If you're using this equation right here, it's assuming that these two x values are directly opposite each other, right? Because if they're directly opposite each other, you can add and divide by 2 to find the middle, right, between those 2 points. So that wouldn't work if it's offset, right? Like if you have points that are not across each other. So what does that mean? We need to find this point right here. We know that this point has a y value of 3, and we don't know the x value. I'm going to call that x1. So this would be x, x1, and therefore this is x2. Right? So let me find it up here. So I would say that -7 is equal to x1 plus x2, all of that divided by 2. Okay, and then we multiply both sides by 2. That is going to be the theme, always multiplying by 2. So you get -14 is equal to x1 because x1 plus 0 is just x1. So you've actually found the third point. You need 3, right? Is -14, 3. Okay, you just found it here. So the next step is to come up with your table that you're going to enter into x1 and x2 in no particular order, as long as you pair them up. You've got to keep them together, right? So -14, 3, -7, what is that, 27.5? Yeah, 27.5. And then 0, 3 is the other one. Okay, so these are my 3 points. You put this into L1 and L2. You got to type in stat calc 5. That's like the bare minimum for keys that need to be entered. And let's go ahead and find it. So I will go stat edit. Oops, what did I do there? Stat edit, clear. 3, in no particular order. Okay, it doesn't matter which point you enter first. The calculator knows where it's on the graph. I'm going to perform the regression. I'm going to go to my home screen, and let's see if I can do the cheat where you just go up, find the last time you used it, just copy it, and then, right, then you don't need to go through the whole thing. That's another option, but the only problem with this is students forget how to get that, right? How to actually type the whole thing out. So this is -0.5 x squared, right, minus 7x plus 3. This is the equation. The line of best fit, I may add, right? So I'm going to go zoom 9, and it does look like the graph I just, right? It's obviously flatter because of the window, right? Like if I adjusted my window, it would look different. Go ahead. Let's find the x-intercepts and then the domain and range. So y2 is equal to 0. Right, y2 is equal to 0. Second trace 5. I'm going to go to the left a bit. That's close enough to the left side. So enter, enter, enter. -14.420. The other one is second trace 5. Jump to the red line. Run right across the field. And that's close enough. Enter, enter, enter. 0.420. So there are my 2 x-intercepts. And now the most challenging of all, I would like you to ace it every time. is the domain and range. It's the most challenging. For some reason, we get it wrong too often, right? So you don't fear it, right? So for domain, it's in this case, it would be just all real numbers. Whoa, what did he do there? 2 lines there for the R? That's too much. Just make one, whatever. Just R is good. And then range, Y would be, remember it's pointing down, less than or equal to 27.5. And there's your domain and range. What are we at time-wise? We still have a little bit of time. I'm going to make sure you practice this. The textbook has 0 practice on regressions. Nothing, right? So I made a worksheet, so fear not. Where's your workbook? Take out your workbook. I want to take you there. And let's just make sure the page numbers add up, right? Page numbers, page 10 in your workbook. Yep, that works, that works. So if you go to page 10, it looks like this. Quadratic regression practice. There's no word problem associated with this. No word problems, okay? So you need to assume that there are arrowheads on the curves, that it's x-axis, y-axis, right? All of those things, just make sure you take that into account. And this page is exclusively dealing with regressions. I need you to be very good at it. I need you to just be able what to type. Oh, I'm not seeing it. Is plot 1 turned on? Zoom 9. Why is that not working? Oh, it's plot 1 turned on, right? Things like that I need you to be really good at. And I'm thinking I want to reserve this sometimes for the end, but I think you're ready for it. There's another one. If you go to page 37, I just added that. I think you're the first group that gets this worksheet. Page 37. I think there might not even be a page number on it, but it's after 36. Because I added mine manually, my page numbers. You see that? You see that this is basically the same thing, right? A bunch of graphs, determine the equation, determine the y-intercepts, the x-intercepts. Just practicing using your calculator, okay? Page 38, maybe hold off with page 38 for now, because this is a word problem. You see that, right? Distance and height, right? So leave 38 for now. I will post the answer key to it, but don't do 38 just now. Just do page 10 and page 37, also in the workbook. And if I don't post the answer keys, it's not that I don't want to post them. Sometimes I just forget. So you can send me a quick message. Sometimes I'll have to wait till I come in the next day. Sometimes I find them on the cloud. So just let me know, okay?